Have you ever had a dream that you couldn't interpret, but felt deep down that it was interpreting you? I have. And ever since, every shadow seems to carry a warning. Every forgotten object in time seems to whisper my name. I follow Kardec's teachings. I've spent years learning to read dreams, to interpret signs, to respect the boundaries between worlds. It's always been serene, a gift I use to help others find meaning in the chaos of the unconscious. But there's something I learned too late. Not every dream wants to be read. Not every symbol comes to guide. Some come to warn, and others to trap. 5 days ago, I had a dream that changed everything. But to understand what happened 5 days ago, I need to tell you about the dream that came before it. The one that started all of this. The one I had 2 weeks ago. Let me start with how I learned the name. It was last week, 5 days after the second dream, when a friend mentioned something in passing. We were talking about strange experiences, those moments that defy explanation. She told me about an acquaintance who'd had a vivid dream, so visceral it didn't feel like dreaming at all. A place that felt too real. A place with a name. Setealen. The word struck me like lightning. I stopped breathing. My chest tightened. The room seemed to tilt. I knew that name. I didn't know how, but I knew it, as if it had been buried deep in my mind, waiting for someone to speak it aloud. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at my computer and searched, and what I found made my blood run cold. Hundreds of reports, stories from people all over the world, dreams that became physical experiences, disappearances, memory loss, descriptions of decaying streets where time moved differently, figures who smiled but had no warmth, objects that appeared in dreams and then showed up in the real world, and warnings. So many warnings. Don't accept food. Don't promise to return. Don't let them know your name. I had broken 2 of those rules already, because 2 weeks ago, I went there, and 1 week after that, I went back. And now, I'm terrified of what will happen if I fall asleep tonight. It started without warning. I went to bed exhausted, the way you do after a long day that drains you to the bone. I closed my eyes expecting nothing. Maybe darkness, maybe fragments of memory stitched together into nonsense. But the moment sleep took me, I wasn't in bed anymore. I was standing on a street. Not just any street, a place I'd never seen before, and yet it felt more real than most waking moments. The air was thick, humid, pressing against my skin like a living thing. The pavement beneath my feet was cracked and uneven, weeds pushing through the gaps. The houses around me sagged under the weight of time. Peeling paint, dark windows, rusted gates hanging crooked on their hinges. The light was wrong too. Weak, flickering orange street lamps cast long, trembling shadows. The kind of light that doesn't illuminate so much as it deepens the darkness around it. And then there was the smell. The moment I took my first breath, I knew this wasn't an ordinary dream. It was the smell of somewhere ancient, metallic, like old coins left in water too long, faintly moldy, like wood rotting quietly in the dark. It filled my nose, clung to the back of my throat, settled into my lungs. I could feel everything. The texture of the cracked pavement, the cold weight of the air, the way my skin prickled with goosebumps. This wasn't a dream my brain had conjured from memory. This was somewhere else. I started walking, not because I wanted to, but because something pulled me forward. My feet moved as if following an invisible thread through the narrow streets. Every corner I turned felt familiar in a way I couldn't explain, as if I'd walked this path before. Not in this life, but in some other, forgotten one. I tried to use my gift. Normally I can read a place, feel its energy, understand its nature. But here there was nothing. Or rather, there was something, but it was blocked. a thick, suffocating silence where spiritual resonance should have been. My gift had been turned off. That should have been my first warning. I ignored it. I don't know how long I walked before I saw him. A man, maybe in his 40s or 50s, pushing a wooden cart down the middle of the street. He moved slowly, deliberately, stopping every few feet to pick something up. Cans, scraps of metal, wet papers. The kind of scene you'd see in any city. But here, it felt staged, performative. We didn't speak. I don't think he even looked at me, but I followed him. There was something about the rhythm of his movements, the way he never glanced back, that told me he knew I was there, that he was leading me. We walked for what felt like hours through streets that twisted and folded in on themselves. And then, finally, we stopped. His house was small and worn. A gray iron gate hung slightly open, creaking softly in a breeze I couldn't feel. The walls were painted a faded green, stained with streaks of moisture. Everything looked tired, not abandoned, just old in a way that suggested time flowed faster here than it should. Inside the covered porch was something that might have been a shop, or an altar, or both. There were no prices, no signs, no logic to the arrangement. Just shelves made of darkened wood displaying objects that felt wrong. Small plastic toys with faded colors, a rusted baby carriage with torn fabric, cracked picture frames with photos too faded to make out. On a makeshift counter sat a thick glass jar filled with candies, blue, purple, green, yellow, gleaming with a sickly brightness, like fruit left too long in the sun but somehow preserved. Dust covered everything. Not fresh dust, but the kind that accumulates over years. The kind that whispers, "Nothing moves here." The smell was stronger inside, metallic, moldy, ancient. And then I saw her. She was sitting in the corner between the baby carriage and a shelf, small and still. Maybe 3 to 5 years old. Her hair was tangled, her dress too big, hanging loose on her thin frame. But her eyes were the most beautiful brown I'd ever seen. Deep and warm, like polished mahogany. The kind of eyes that should belong to a child full of wonder. Except they didn't wonder. They observed. She looked at me without blinking. No smile, no fear. Just watching. I tried to speak. "Hi," I said softly, crouching down. "Are you okay?" Nothing. I smiled, tried again. "Do you need help?" She tilted her head slightly but didn't respond. The silence stretched. I became aware of how alone I was. The man had vanished. I hadn't noticed when. My skin prickled. A warning. Leave. Now. But I didn't. Instead, I stood up, brushed the dust from my hands, and felt it. The texture, the grit, the realness of it. Before I left, I looked at her one more time. I don't know why I said it. Politeness, maybe. Or guilt. "The next time I come," I said, "I'll buy something. I need to go now." She didn't respond, just kept staring with those beautiful brown eyes. I turned and walked away. I woke up gasping. My heart pounded. My sheets were damp with sweat. But the strangest part wasn't the panic. It was the clarity. Dreams fade. Within minutes, they become hazy fragments you can't quite hold on to. But this one didn't. It stayed. Every detail, every smell, every word. I could still feel the dust on my fingers. I could still smell the metallic air, and I couldn't read it. As a spiritist, I'm trained to interpret dreams. But every time I tried to meditate on this one, I hit a wall. A thick, deliberate silence where understanding should have been. The dream didn't want to be interpreted. It wanted to be remembered. I tried to move on, told myself it was just a particularly vivid dream, nothing more. But the weight stayed with me. a heaviness in my chest that wouldn't lift. 1 week later, I dreamed again. The moment I closed my eyes, I was back. Same street, same flickering lights, same cracked pavement, but colder, heavier. The smell of metal and mold so strong it choked me. I started walking. The same invisible thread pulled me forward through the same twisting alleys. And there he was, the man with the cart. I followed him again, not because I wanted to, because I felt I had to. We reached the house, the gray gate, the faded green walls, the shop. But everything was worse now. The dust was thicker, the objects more worn, as if decades had passed since my last visit, even though it had only been a week. And then I saw her. She was standing this time, not sitting, and she had grown. She looked 7, maybe 8 years old now. Her hair was longer, her face more defined. The dress that had been too big now fit. But that wasn't what made my breath catch. It was her eyes. They were no longer brown. They were yellow, bright, unnatural yellow with thin vertical pupils that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. I froze. She smiled. Wide, genuine. You came back. Her voice was sweet, childlike, but underneath it was something too aware, too knowing. My throat was dry. She tilted her head, those yellow eyes fixed on mine. I knew you would. You said you'd come back. I hadn't promised, had I? But then I remembered. The next time I come, I'll buy something. I had said it, and now I was here. She reached out and took my hand. Her skin was cold and dry. Do you want to try the grape candy today? I looked at the jar on the counter. The candies gleamed inside, their colors too bright. I hesitated. You can only eat it at 11 p.m., she said, matter of fact. My father has to give it to you. The words hit me like ice water. The time, the father, the ritual. This wasn't a game. He'll give it to you, she repeated, her eyes locked on mine. It's almost time. I didn't have a watch, but somehow, I knew. It was 11 p.m. Part of me wanted to accept, to see what would happen, what the candy would taste like, what it would do. But survival instinct screamed louder. This wasn't candy. It was a seal, a mark, something that would bind me here forever. I forced a smile. I can't today. It's late. I need to go. She nodded, her smile unwavering. Okay, next time you'll try it. I turned to leave, and that's when I realized. The street had changed. The corners that had been clear before were now dark and twisted. The houses multiplied, closing in. I tried to retrace my steps, but nothing looked the same. I was lost. Panic clawed at my chest. I walked faster, my breath coming in short gasps. I turned a corner and found myself back at the house. The gray gate, the faded walls. No, I ran. The streets folded. The shadows stretched. The air pressed down like a physical weight. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Following me. I didn't look back. I just ran. Lungs burning, legs screaming. I needed to wake up. And then, through the panic, a thought surfaced. This is a dream. It felt real. It smelled real. But it wasn't. I stopped running, stood still in the middle of the dark street, and I pushed. Not with my body, with my mind. I forced myself to reject the reality around me, to remember my bedroom, my bed, the texture of my sheets. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The world around me flickered, and then I was back. I shot up in bed, gasping, heart hammering, but I was awake. Safe. Or was I? The smell lingered, metallic, moldy, clinging to my skin. I stumbled to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, and looked in the mirror. I looked haunted, and then I saw it. Under my fingernails, a faint trace of gray dust. I scrubbed my hands until they were raw, but the memory stayed. That was 5 days ago. 5 days of refusing to sleep. 5 days of staring at the ceiling, fighting to keep my eyes open. Because I know what will happen if I dream again. The girl is waiting. The man is waiting. The candy is waiting. And I made a promise. The next time I come, I'll buy something. I said I'd return, and I did. It doesn't matter if it was a dream. What matters is that it recognized me, and I recognized it. The shop is still there, with its dusty shelves, its glowing candies, its flickering light, and the girl with yellow eyes, smiling, waiting for me to come back, waiting for me to accept the candy. If you've listened this far, maybe you feel it too. That tightness in your chest, that whisper at the edge of your mind. Maybe you've been there, walked streets that weren't on any map, met people who knew your name before you said it. Maybe you've crossed the veil without knowing. Setealen, that's the name I found. The name that explained everything. And now I give it to you, with the hope you never need to use it. But if you do, don't accept the candy. Don't promise to return. And whatever you do, don't say yes after 11 p.m. Leave a comment if you've had a dream like this. If you've felt watched by something you couldn't see. If you've woken up with dust under your nails. Our stories might be the map others need. Like this video if it gave you chills. If you recognize that feeling. If you know, deep down, that some dreams aren't just dreams. Subscribe if you want to hear more. If you want to walk the edge of what's real. The journey is just beginning. And I still don't know if I'll be able to stay awake tonight.